Oh, I see. I have a little more volume in my hair on this side with the way the video gets wonky.
All right, we are live.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Parks Commission meeting for Wednesday, December the 9th. And I believe I then will refer to our secretary to start us with.
Thank you. The procedures adopted for this meeting meet or exceed standards set forth in Governor Gavin Newsom's order N-29-20, which allows public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. At this time, it would be appropriate to conduct roll call and afterwards to confirm certain matters for the record. Commissioner Dorlett.
Present.
Commissioner Kensington Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Birnbaum.
We couldn't hear you, Christy.
Commissioner Birnbaum.
Present.
Commissioner Osland.
Present.
Commissioner Roberts.
Present.
Student Commissioner Ramesh.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
Present.
Thank you. Now I would just like to verify that all members of the committee can hear me well. All members of the committee have been able to hear all previous speakers, including the roll call. And each committee member believes, based on facial or voice recognition or otherwise, that all persons representing themselves to be a committee member are in fact committee members. If all three statements are true, please indicate by raising your hand. Thank you. And finally, as a reminder, any votes taken during this meeting must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. We will now have our Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe, Christy, you will handle that for us, please.
Thank you. Ready? I pledge allegiance
Pledges.
To
to the flag
Flag.
of the
of the
United
United
States of
States of
America
America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now go to item number 4 on our agenda, which is special items and announcements. Do we have any special announcements from Kathy? Do you have any special announcements?
I think we start with 4.1, which is our temporary employee of the month.
Okay. And I believe Jennifer,
That'll be presented by Amanda Tugwell, Recreation Coordinator.
yes. Amanda.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Amanda Tugwell, Recreation Coordinator. I am happy to present to you today Temp Employee of the Month, Ashley Rails. Ashley joined the City of San Ramon staff in April of 2017 and has since become a huge asset to the building attendant team. She stepped up to the plate during this trying time and has been able to help many divisions in our department. Due to shelter-in-place order, she continues to assist with weekly distance learning shifts for full-time employees' children. She also has been covering shifts at the Doherty Valley Aquatic Center to assist with checking in lap swimmers and helping frontline staff. Ashley is being recognized for the October Temp Employee of the Month after she went out of her way for the aquatics staff. Now I'm going to share with you a few quotes. From Aquatics Coordinator Kevin Boggs, Ashley has stepped up to assist the aquatics division with front desk assistance in the early mornings and health screenings in the late afternoons. Ashley was able to utilize her knowledge and experience working in facilities and apply that to the roles at our aquatic centers. Customers are always met with a welcoming smile despite being hidden by a mask. Her flexibility and willingness to assist other divisions during this time has been greatly appreciated. Another quote from a lifeguard: Ashley has been a huge help for us at the pools, especially at the front desk. She's always communicative and informs the senior staff of what is going on. Her hard work takes a large weight off of our shoulders and makes mornings much easier. In closing, the City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Department would like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank Ashley for her dedication to our city and all the hard work that she continues to provide. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Ashley. We thank you for your service and for the extra work that you are doing. That is great to be Johnny on the spot all the time and doing extra work. So I certainly want to share with you how thankful we are that we have employees like you to make the city look good.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Does any other commissioner have anything to say? Okay, if not, again, we thank you very much. And it's our pleasure to meet you and wish you luck in all of your future endeavors.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor working here.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to go to 4.2, our Teen Council Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award recognition, and that will be presented by Jennifer Galt. Jennifer?
You're muted, Jen.
Thank you. And it looks like we got award winner on, so we should be good. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Jennifer Galt, and I'm the supervisor with the Youth and Community Services Department. I also have, oh, sorry, it looks like my internet's going in and out, so hopefully I don't freeze on you. I have the pleasure of also working with the Teen Council, and we're here this evening to recognize the Outstanding Teen Citizen for the year. The Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award was created by the Teen Council in 2012, and this annual award is selected by the Teen Council and recognizes one high school citizen who's made a significant accomplishment with enhancing the quality of life for residents in San Ramon each year. I'd like to recognize first the Teen Council, who despite their world being turned upside down this year, received 24 applications, which is the highest amount we have ever received. And now I'd like to turn it over to your student commissioner and our Teen Council chair, Amrita, to present the award.
Thank you. So as Jen said, this year we have the highest amount of applicants, which made it the most competitive applicant pool that we've had so far. But after a lot of deliberation, it was clear that Vishak was a front runner for many of us in the committee. The reason why we chose Vishak's application was because we really appreciated how he used his talents and passions to help out the San Ramon community. It was clear through his application that he's very passionate about technology and coding and using technology to solve the problems that we face here in San Ramon. And the way that he did that was basically computerize and automate the lunch ordering system at the high schools. And if COVID wasn't a thing, this would have eventually been implemented in the high schools and we would have seen the results. Not only did he do this, but he also worked with the schools to create a locker program so that the locker distribution system to high school students could be automated. And in addition to that, he also worked with, he worked for a contest called Samsung Solve for Tomorrow to win $100,000 for our school because of technology that he created to improve response times to fires. And that ideally would be implemented with the San Ramon Valley Fire Department and other fire departments across the nation. So through all of his different projects, we can clearly see that he's a very dedicated student, not only to improving his passions and talents, but also to our community. And that's the reason why we have this award in the first place. So thank you, Vishak, and thank you, Commissioner Dorlick, for providing the $250 grant and also helping us out with the Chamber of Commerce dinner last week.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate you on all the outstanding things that you've accomplished. I was just amazed by when I read all that you have done. So I personally want to congratulate you, and I hope that you continue to do outstanding work and you'll be a great leader in the future for our community and maybe go on higher than that. So I want to thank you, but I want to also give any commissioners anything that time that they would like to say at this time.
I'll say something.
Heidi, please.
Okay. Vishak, I've been involved with the Parks Commission for a while, and there have been a lot of wonderful kids that have gone through teen council and who have been acknowledged, but I was not, my socks were knocked off when I saw that what you did. And I think what I appreciate, because we got a lot of smart kids in this community who are very involved in tech, right? What I love is that you used initiative and ingenuity and to help others. And I think that's awesome. So good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, please feel free to say a few words if you wish.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been an amazing journey working with everyone that I've been able to work with over the past year. Both school and my district administration have been extremely instrumental in continuing to support me and implement the various systems that I've worked on. And without them, it would not have been possible for me to get them off the ground and out of my head into an actual implementable project. And I know that this award is only going to serve to continue to motivate me to continue helping others and giving back as I head into college and beyond. And I'm extremely grateful for the Teen Council and for the City of San Ramon and the support that I've received and the support that it has and will continue to give me as I pursue future endeavors. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And you've done a great job. And again, we really appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you.
I feel like at some point we're going to start snapping. You know how in coffee houses they snap to clap? Pretty soon that's what we're going to start doing.
Maybe we should have those little clappers. That
Exactly. Yeah.
or whatever, and then we could clap. Okay. We shall continue on with 4.3. Any special announcements at this time?
I do have a couple of quick announcements for you all. So I am sure you all heard with the new county health order, they initially closed all of the playgrounds. So our wonderful public services staff went out and signed every single playground in San Ramon. And then today, the county reversed that. So the playgrounds are open. So I wanted to make sure you knew, since that was a deal of confusing to have them shut and then open, but they are open. So children can go play. Of course, their parents need to make sure that they use hand sanitizer and wash, and we'll continue to be doing the cleaning on the playgrounds that we've been doing up until now. So that's exciting news. Also, we have several virtual holiday programs, and I want to make sure that you all are aware so you can help spread the word, and as well as people that are watching the meeting today. So in case you didn't know, Notes from the North Pole is operating. The mailbox, which used to be in the rotunda, has been shifted over to the main library, since the librarians are able to do books curbside for people. So anybody who needs to drop off their letter to Santa, the mailbox is there. And I have it on a very good authority that Santa does answer those letters. So that's where the box is at. The holiday trees in the rotunda were decorated by our foundations and some of the departments in the city. Even though it is a COVID situation, you can't come inside, but they are all viewable from the exterior. So that makes a really nice holiday activity for families on a nice weather day to go walk around the outside and see all the beautiful decorations on the themed trees. We have a Zoom with Santa. And so that has been taken on by our teen council. I'm sure Amritha may mention that a little bit later. But that's sold out. It's a great collaboration, really fun. We have at the farm going on a program where you can pick up the materials to make your own wreath or swag. And so you can get a whole kit. It has hot cocoa and some other things, so you can have kind of a family event with it. In addition, they've also done tours of the glass house. So you can see the glass house, all decorated virtual tours. So you can click through and see that online. If you're feeling like you need some holiday music to boost your mood, we have the Jim Brickman Holiday Concerts virtual tomorrow night. You can still get tickets and log into that. And finally, there's a holiday home decorating contest. So if you have your house decorated, you can enter that, or you can just log on to the website and you can get the map and you can enjoy driving around San Ramon and seeing some of the efforts your neighbors have done. So all in all, we have a lot going on for the holidays. Staff have worked very hard on that, so wanted to make sure you were aware. And at this point, we're actually looking forward. So as we move towards the new year, staff are now looking towards summer and the Art and Wind Festival. So they are planning. It's at the end of May. It may look a little different, maybe more spread out, but we are determined to find a way to make that happen for the community, as well as all of our well-known summer programs, camps, and activities. So we're ready and we're willing and we're getting ready to go. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. Item number 5 is public comment or written communication. At this time, those in the audience are encouraged to address the Park and Community Service Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom will have the opportunity to make comments to the Parks and Community Service Commission live through the Zoom application. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. Comments from the public under public comment may also be submitted by email to ctallman@sanramon.ca.gov. No commission action can be taken at this meeting on issues raised during public comment, whether submitted by email or Zoom. Written public comment emails must be submitted to the Park and Community Service Department prior to the commencement of this meeting. Reading of the public comment emails into the record by the recording secretary will be limited in duration to 3 minutes each. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments or people waiting to do public comment?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Number 6, approval of the minutes. We'll need a motion to accept the Parks and Community Service Commission regular meeting of October 14th.
So moved.
I
Second,
make a motion to, or should I second that? Second?
Commissioner Will made the motion. You may second it. Yes. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, then Madam President, will you take our roll call for a voting, please?
Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Osland,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
Aye.
Thank you.
Then we need a motion for the Parks and Community Service Commission special meeting held on November 18th. We need a motion for such.
I make a
So
motion.
moved. Oh, I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we, is there any, okay, you made the motion. Okay, we did that. Okay, so now we will vote again.
Hey, Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Osland,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe at this time we have any consent calendar items. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do not.
Thank you. Then we will go on to commission business. 8.1, San Ramon Social Justice Collective Community Public Art Project Proposal, and presented by Erica. Thank you, Erica.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Erica Valentine. I'm a recreation coordinator for the Parks Department. I've had the pleasure in working with the San Ramon Social Justice Collective since they first approached the city back in July regarding their vision for a community-led temporary public art project. Their group is a team of civically engaged, passionate San Ramon residents comprised of nonprofit leaders, artists, educators, community volunteers, students, and more. Their goal is to create a collaborative community art project focused on the themes of racial equity, harmony, healing, and social justice in San Ramon. The group is proposing that the project consist of 10 vinyl banners, which will get fastened to the skate park fence, which is near the walkway between City Hall and the San Ramon Community Center. Pending approval, the group hopes to have the project installed in May or June and remain up through the summer and fall of 2021. On November 18th, the Arts Advisory Committee reviewed and approved the San Ramon Social Justice Collective Public Art Project and recommended that it be forwarded on to the Parks and Community Services Commission for final approval. Pending approval of the project, the San Ramon Social Justice Collective would then return back to the Arts Advisory Committee as well as the Parks and Community Services Commission to get final approval on the selected artwork for the project. I'm pleased to welcome Stephanie Yu. She's one of the founding members of the San Ramon Social Justice Collective, and she'll be going over their project proposal in great detail for you all.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm going to share my screen with you at this time. Just give me 1 second to get that up.
Stephen? Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Did that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Stephanie, and I'm a San Ramon community member, and I'm here as a founding member and representative of the San Ramon Social Justice Collective. As Erica said, we are a team of passionate San Ramon resident representatives from local nonprofit organizations, local artists, community volunteers, students, and more. We were born in response to recent equity and racial justice movements that we have seen, such as the Black Lives Matter movement. Our goal is to create grassroots platforms in the San Ramon community to enable communal expressions and discussions on social justice. We are operating at the heels of an unprecedented year, one that has caused us to pause and recognize tragedy, loss, courage, kindness, and deeply systemic and entrenched inequities. We believe that now is the right time to create a space where our community can come together and artistically express our feelings on racial equity, healing, harmony, and justice. We hope to amplify all voices in our community, especially from the Black, Indigenous, and other people of color known as BIPOC and LGBTQ+ people of color communities. I'm here to present the proposal for our first project, a temporary public community art display on the themes of racial equity and harmony. This is the outline that I will be going through tonight. SRSJC's vision is to create a temporary art installation created in partnership with local grassroots artists, as well as the residents of San Ramon in a public, highly trafficked area. The following proposal details a plan for a temporary artwork installation painted on vinyl banners that will include quick response codes for citizens to dialogue on current issues of equity and inclusion, which I will go more into later. The objective of this packet is to present our proposal to receive approval from the San Ramon Parks Commission. The project theme highlighted in this project proposal is breathing free together. Most obviously, this phrase is connected with the heart of the Black Lives Matter movement and the phrase that woke us all up, I can't breathe. On another level, we felt the theme also reflects the fact that breathing is the very basic act of life, which unites us all. Every being on earth is connected by the single act of breathing. Last, it also reflects the pandemic times where we hope for a time where we will be unmasked, healed, healthy, and breathing free together. I've already introduced myself. I'd like to also introduce Dr. Pallavi Sharma, who is watching this meeting, who will be acting as our project's art coordinator, and she will be leading the curation and installation process for this artwork. She has been part of the Art Advisory Committee for the City of San Ramon for several years and held leadership positions for various art nonprofit organizations. I'm also speaking on behalf of our founding SRSJC members and stakeholders. On this journey, we have held hands with different stakeholders who have partnered with us to lend us their expertise and to help us raise awareness on the project. Our relationship with our stakeholders includes sharing contacts and resources, project maintenance, spreading awareness, long-term vision, site location support, financial support, as well as serving on the jury committee for the Call for Art. Our hope is to continue to add relevant stakeholders as the project evolves. And here we have listed a few of note. I want to add that most recently, Ashley Gutierrez, the equity coordinator for SRVUSD, has accepted SRSJC's invitation to become a stakeholder. At this time, I'd like to get into the nuts and bolts of the proposed art project. I will be outlining guidelines, location, materials, and layout. These are our project guidelines that I won't be spending too much time right now. They're here to inform the values and principles that are guiding this project, and they're available for you in the proposal to review. We're primarily concerned with making sure the project is aligned to these core values and that we amplify the voices of Black, Indigenous, and people of color and LGBTQ+ people of color communities in a way that is suitable for all ages. The proposed location for this temporary art installation is the fence along San Ramon Central Park skate park facing the parking lot. We are making this consideration alongside feedback from our meetings with city representatives. SRSJC and the art coordinator will work with the city to meet safety and size requirements for public art display pending site selection. This project is site specific, but as you'll see, it has been designed to be mobile and flexible. The fence along the skate park is in a highly visible area next to other city buildings and is easily monitored and situated so that any community interaction doesn't impede foot traffic, but also optimizes visibility. The project will be laid out as follows. There will be 6 hand-painted horizontal vinyl banners created by individual local artists selected through an open call for art. 4 vertical vinyl banners will depict project themes featuring printed works of selected artists honoring activities and people of diverse cultural backgrounds. Each banner will be approximately 4 by 2.5 feet, depending on site selection and safety guidelines. 3 quick response codes will be interspersed among the banners, allowing for community interaction with 3 different prompts. The QR codes will direct people to a landing page where they will be able to answer 3 different prompts. Responses will not be automatically uploaded to any public website, but will be reviewed beforehand by our social media coordinator and team. The heart of this review is not to censor, but it is a priority to make sure everything falls within before mentioned guidelines, and we'll do our best to make sure that all voices are represented and heard. Project materials. The material that was decided for this project was vinyl banners with grommets to be hung by cable ties or zip ties. We selected this material because of safety considerations. They can be hung on the fence in such a way to maintain line of sight for authorities and park goers into the skate park. And the material also ensures that no one will be able to climb into the skate park using the installation. This is the installation layout overview. As you can see, the estimated project length is anywhere between 35 to 43 feet, allowing flexibility for space and visibility between banners. 35 feet is the length of all the banners with no spaces in between, and 43 feet would allow for a foot between each banner. We are in the process of building an operational team made up of teams for art coordination, community engagement and outreach, submissions coordination, and fundraising and procurement. Our step 0 was to appoint Dr. Pallavi Sharma as our art coordinator and Naina Shastri as our social media coordinator. We will issue a public call for art submissions document through social media, as well as with the help of targeted community leaders and members, such as diversity and inclusion leaders, history and art teachers, social justice advocates, and other community organizations following approval from the Parks and Community Services Commission. The timing of this call for art aligns with SRVUSD's Words Matter Week, and Ashley Gutierrez has already expressed enthusiasm for bringing awareness to this art project during that time. SRSJC will receive and acknowledge all artwork through February, whereupon we will review and jury all submissions alongside a selection committee facilitated by the art coordinator and consisting of members from our stakeholder organization. From March to April, all selections will be presented to the Arts Advisory Committee and to the Parks and Community Services Commission for review before the artists get to work. April to May, all winning artists will be informed of their selection and will recreate their artwork on vinyl banners under guidance from the art coordinator, following county guidelines and the artist's comforts and needs. As a final step in May to June, banners will be installed at a public location approved by the city along with inauguration festivities. Depending on the date of installation and inauguration, it will line up either with Pride Month or Juneteenth, which we hope to also honor and recognize at the festivities. SRSJC is funding this project through crowdfunding efforts and private donations from our stakeholders, representatives from our collective, and community members. Commissioners, thank you for your time, and we're truly excited to receive your approval so that we can move this project forward.
Thank you for a nice presentation, Stephanie. Very nicely presented. And I would open this up to questions from the commissioners. And I have to get my.
I think you need to go to public comment first.
Oh, I do have to do that, yes. All right, we will go to public comment. And Christy, do we have any public comments at this time?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close the public comment. And now I will go to the commissioners to see if any of them have questions or comments. And I just got through here, and we have Commissioner Heidi Kensington Lee.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie, for all the hard work and the presentation. And I assume Dr. Sharma is somewhere in the background here listening to us. You know, as a founding member of the San Ramon Valley Diversity Coalition, and I was actually the first San Ramon Valley Council PTA's Inclusion and Diversity Chair. I was intrigued by this proposal. There was a little bit of excitement there about the possibilities that it held. And I appreciate the intent, the spirit, and the work behind what you guys have done so far. In fact, I visited all the websites of your stakeholders, and I particularly, because that's what we do on parks, we do our homework, and on a lot of our bodies, I particularly was moved by, you know, the inner arts sites focus on love and healing and consideration and respect. So I'm coming at my consideration of this proposal from a very positive place. From a bit of a knowing place. And so I appreciate that. Having said that, I am honestly not prepared to give a thumbs up to the project tonight. I have a number of questions about project implementation, and my goal is to ask some questions and provide some feedback that puts us on a potential pathway to an ultimate yes. But I'm not confident that tonight's the night to give that yes. So if it's okay with you, Stephanie, can I ask you some questions?
Definitely.
Okay. So one is, I've not, having been involved with this somewhat, this, you know, issue of inclusion and diversity and so forth, I've not heard of the San Ramon Social Justice Collective. How long have you guys been around? And do you guys have a website? Do you have a current social media presence? Because I couldn't find it.
So yeah, our collective was really born out of all the issues that we encountered as a community from the beginning of this year. So when I say we're grassroots, really, we're just a collective made up of community members that really saw a need that was not being met totally, you know, that voices needed to be heard. So no, we have planned each step very carefully, and we're currently in the process of developing teams to build out websites and social media pages. But, you know, we also didn't want to put the cart before the horse. Yeah, we've been around since the beginning of this year, I would say.
And I want to explain why I asked that question, because I would want to see how your organization presents itself in a social media environment and on the web, and how you brand what you're going to do before, and almost see it get a little bit more formalized before the city considers what you're really asking is to be a stakeholder. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's a little ahead of, it's not really where it needs to be for us to consider a proposal at that point, that part. But the second question is, how, I really appreciate you guys thought ahead enough to say, we don't want hate language, we don't want profanity, we don't want violent graphics. How do you guys propose that you define that for purposes of an application when you communicate that to the community? Because I imagine some people have different thresholds of what that means. So have you guys worked through that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think the general guideline for us is, as we said, that it would be appropriate for children. So this is for all community members, and the heart behind that guideline is not to censor. So we do know that surrounding this theme and equity issues, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to want to be expressed, and we welcome all of that. But we also have to be really mindful of the fact that families and children are also going to be participating, and that will really guide how we make decisions surrounding the artwork. And yeah.
And as for me as a commissioner, I would really like to see how you guys incorporate that process into the application. I would like to actually see what that looks like prior to considering moving forward with the project. Another question is, in some of your literature, I saw at least two places that you guys suggested that all submissions would somehow be posted. They would all be acknowledged, which of course they would be, but they would be somehow posted on social media. So my question is, will there be some kind of disclaimer in your application and on your website saying you reserve the right to withhold? Because I'm sensitive also to not wanting to censor, over inappropriately censor. But have you guys thought about that?
I'm sorry. So the question is.
So the question is, have you guys thought about a disclaimer that gives you the opportunity to choose what is posted and what isn't?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good suggestion. We are currently developing our call for art document, which is pretty extensive, and we do go into a lot of detail about what we plan to do with the artwork that isn't selected. But I think that's a good idea to reserve the right to withhold and not post everything. But I'm hoping that our guidelines are broad enough that it kind of covers that as well.
Okay. And to my fellow commissioners, I do have a lot of questions. I hope you will bear with me, and I appreciate you. Is this okay with you guys? I want to just kind of move forward because I think this is really important, and I hope I'm not taking over too many of your questions, but a couple more.
I think you're asking a lot of questions that some of us have at the same time. So I'm pleased that you're asking.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, so another one was, I guess one of my concerns is the QR code component of the project, because that means, I've got a kid, I'm a mom here, and I've got a kid who's gonna, pull up the QR, they're gonna use their phone, go to the QR code, and they're gonna go to a blog or some kind of, constructive dialogue vehicle. What I want to hear a little bit more about what your process is for making sure that it's appropriate content.
Right. So I want to make it clear, when we talk about QR codes, it can go to any landing page, and the landing page that we hope to send community members to will either be on SRSJC website, where only responses are received. So none of the responses received will be posted on that website. There will be an additional step for review before anything gets put on any public website.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And I did look at the Inner Eye Arts blog, and I don't know why that one I've spent a lot of time on, and there was a lot of positivity there. It addressed issues, but there was positivity. But I think that's like a huge thing that needs to be thought thoroughly through. And so I'm glad that you guys are thinking that through. I know you have a six banner and 4 banner separation. And we know that there'll be this process to choose the 6, right? Who chooses the images for the 4 collage banners?
It'll be the same selection jury committee. It'll be during that same process, but those will be specially selected to be digitally printed. So it is a little bit of a different step that the art coordinator will go through with the selected artists, but
okay.
It'll be the same jury selected committee. Yeah.
Okay. And then one question was, why did you guys choose age 13 as the cutoff? What's the magic? Is it a social media access thing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it does have to do with those guidelines. We did follow a lot of precedent when it comes to other public art projects. So, we try to honor those.
Yeah. One more question or one more comment. Excuse if you guys hear the dog in the background, I apologize. One more comment and then 2 closing statements. And that is, under your project guidelines, your number 5 outlines that you're going to strive to work with the community. And this is just a verbiage thing, but an important one. Strive to work with the city. I would suggest moving forward, any if this project moves forward, any formalized verbiage say, we will work with the community, we will work with the city. Because I'm just not into the strive to. I think we need to be resolute in if this moves forward in having that collaboration that you guys I know really want to do. So to kind of wrap up my thoughts, you know, we as commissioners, when we're asked to consider projects like this, we really have to do so as stewards of the entire community. That's really critical. We can't operate in a vacuum. We look at the whole community. And it's critical that we consider that the content being presented. Sorry, let me back up. It's critical that when we consider the content being presented and how it will be received and digested by a whole spectrum of folks, right? It could be the little 5-year-old that we see with their little helmet on at the skate park. It could be the 80-year-old senior resident who is walking through the park, as well as, you know, that active teenage social advocate or social justice advocate, right? So we have to think about how all those folks are going to digest this information. And I want to be clear that as a community, I don't feel like we should avoid difficult subjects. That's, you know, we need to talk about this stuff, right? So I want you to know sort of where I'm coming from in that perspective. And I don't think we should inappropriately censor folks either. But that's the key word, right? Inappropriately. And I not only want to live in a community of equity, harmony, respect, and justice, and I'm open to appropriate ways to make the statement that San Ramon is a community of equity, harmony, and respect and justice. But we have to be really thoughtful and considered in how we do that. We need to do it in a way that strengthens and unifies our community. So I want to reiterate that I'm hopeful that with our questions on the commission, with our input and our feedback, that this is my hope, that we kind of go on a path toward yes, you know what I mean? But that we do it in a very thoughtful, considered way. And when the vice chair, who's acting as chair today, is open to motions, I will just give you guys a heads up that I would plan to make a motion that we defer this item to January to give the San Ramon Social Justice Collective an opportunity to go back and maybe flesh out the application that they can bring to us to give us a better idea of program implementation, because I think there are some unknowns for me, and I'd like to see the organization a little more developed and the project plan a little more developed. So that's sort of where I'm at. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie, for answering all my questions. And thank you, commissioners, for indulging me in a great many questions.
Thank you, Heidi. Now we'd like to go to Commissioner Don Bierbaum.
Stephanie, first of all, I want to say I thought you did a masterful job of putting together the presentation. We've seen a lot of presentations given by a lot of groups, and I think this is probably one of the better ones that I've seen. You were very articulate. Your slides were very well done. And, you know, I would agree with Commissioner Kensington Lee. There are many kernels of very important things that you're trying to accomplish. I would also agree with Commissioner Kensington Lee that maybe we need to flesh it out a little more. But you know, I am very much in favor of a project like this. I have just a nuts and bolts question. I think that if we go down this road and you have artists create one-of-a-kind artistic masterpieces, I am worried about potentially those getting damaged, being, on banners, on a fence. And I would like to have you guys think about maybe a more secure way of protecting the artwork so that people can enjoy it. And I don't object to the fact that wanting to put it in a high traffic area, but I am just concerned, there are people out there that may disagree with the ideas and they may damage somebody's artwork, and it concerns me. Mm-hmm. So, maybe if you go back and think about it, and, and Kathy, maybe the city can look at some suggestions about what we might be able to do to better protect the artwork. That might be something that we might want to talk about at the next potential discussion.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because those were concerns that we also had, that because for 6 of the banners, it will be original hand painted pieces of artwork. And some of the ideas that were put out there is to use anti-graffiti sealants. And for the digitally printed vertical banners, that we will have copies of those in digital files. So, if they get vandalized, ripped up or anything, we always have the option of reprinting them and hanging them up again, try again. And, the reason we selected that material in particular, and we chose the sizing also, and Dr. Pallavi, she can give more detail on this, but the reason we selected that sizing and that material is our hope is to hang it in a position such that it's not easy to vandalize. We wouldn't put it like right here where you could just mark it up, but I think she does have more specifics on how she hopes to hang it up. And yeah, but no, we appreciate it, because those were the same concerns that we had.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we now will go to Commissioner Julia, next on the list.
Hey, Stephanie, thank you so much. Your presentation, as Commissioner Birnbaum said, is really high quality and very, very thorough, and I appreciate all the information that you shared with us. I really admire SRJSC's guiding principles, and I'm really love the theme, breathing free together. Sounds it can really cast a wide net into a lot of different areas. I think really, I concur with Commissioner Keniston Lee with a lot of the questions that she put forth. I also agree that the application process and gathering more information about how we're going to be using the website and social media also are some of my concerns as well. Basically, I think if we can get some of that stuff addressed, I'd like to see this, move forward. I think my only other question is possibly considering bringing in some teens into the selection process and into the conversation. That would be my only suggestion.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. So I should make it a little more clear just to do justice to my team, but we do have a call for art document that's already in the works, and it's pretty extensive into the details of submission guidelines, eligibility requirements. We have a point system that we're going to go by for the selection committee. And in that submission document, and in that call for art document, we also have a link for applications. For people who are interested, they click on that link and it sends them to a form that they must fill out. And in that form, in that application form, we do dictate that any people who would like to submit, if they're 18 and younger, they do need parental approval. And it just goes into the nuts and bolts of the ages and the requirements. I'm really glad that you talked about the youth, because that is kind of the heartbeat of what we're trying to do. That's why we were so excited when Ashley Gutierrez signed on. But one of our stakeholders is Youth Advocates for Change. And we've also been working with Tiana, who I don't know if you are familiar with her. She led the Black Lives Matter protests in San Ramon City Hall. She just graduated, I think, and she's now leading a nonprofit, but she's been part of our planning, and yeah, we're really excited to have them because their insight is so valuable and their experience is one that we truly do not want to leave out. And no, I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. No other comments.
Commissioner Dorlick.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So having sat through the presentation and a very extensive discussion and conversation at the Arts Advisory Committee meeting, which passed it along to the Parks and Community Services Commission. I am wholeheartedly in favor of moving this along to a execution stage. You know, the concept is what we're looking at, not the nuts and bolts, not the execution. I have confidence in Erica, having seen her lead and manage the utility box project, which was a very complex and a variety of artists that were involved. So I have very much strong confidence that she'll be able to manage this from the city perspective. Having worked and known Dr. Sharma for many, many years, and her acceptance and work, and she's actually been, of course, a contributor to the Lindsay Dirks Brown exhibits year after year after year, both by herself and one of the American Asian Women's Art Conference. So I myself have full confidence. We're not here to, you know, discuss the nuts and bolts. We're here to look at the concept, to see that it's something that will also stimulate conversation in the community. And that's really what the focus is. And many of the things that were mentioned here, such as getting the teen council involved, making sure that the banners are actually used beyond the time of the exhibit. So there were a lot of details that were discussed at the Arts Advisory Committee meeting. So I would encourage my fellow commissioners to look at the concept, to have confidence in staff's ability to move this forward as they have other similar projects. I can only point to the utility box project as an example, and that the members that are the people in the community that are bringing this forward are not unknown either to us nor the community. So I would wholeheartedly say, let's not defer it. Let's get the timing going. And I would encourage that we move forward on this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm jumping on, if it's okay, jumping on what Commissioner Dorlick just said. That last meeting with the Arts Advisory was really helpful for us in seeing the vision beyond even what we were thinking, and bringing on SRVUSD as an official stakeholder and having them on our jury selection committee has been really key for us, because they have already been talking with us about making this a traveling exhibit once we've finished, and making it a teaching moment for all of our students. And, you know, just hearing from our teens that have been with us since the beginning, it's just a project that is so deeply embedded in the community, I think, and that can really be used to bring voice and light to just a lot of different issues and stories that, you know, might not otherwise get highlighted.
Hey, thank you. And I now would like to ask our teen, Ms. Ramesh, to give her comments, please.
Thank you.
I'm speaking to.
Well, but her name is.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you didn't miss me there.
No, I've got it all written down.
Okay.
Thank you. So first off, I have to agree with what all of the commissioners before me said. This is really commendable. And I also went and looked at a bunch of the links for the organizations listed as stakeholders. And it's clear that you've curated a really good group of activists and artists who are interested in really moving the message forward. So we really appreciate that. But I think a few thoughts that I had were, first off, I think I saw that there was a mention of working with history and art teachers. And I know you mentioned that Ms. Gutierrez was brought on as a stakeholder, but I think there's really a lot of promise there. I'm currently working in my school with diversity and equity, and I know that a lot of teachers are really looking for ways to start that conversation. And I think you just mentioned that it could be a traveling exhibit. I think there is really a lot of potential in some sort of partnership with teachers and the history departments in these schools to use the art as a way to sort of start conversations in the classroom. So like another concern I had was the lack of social media presence that the SRSJC has for now. I noticed that you appointed a social media head, so that's probably going to change in the next few months. But if this art was to have some sort of a virtual platform, I think that could be a really great way for teachers to use this in their curriculum and use this in their classroom to discuss issues of equity, especially like centered around San Ramon. So if there's a way to sort of improve on the social media presence, I definitely think that could reach out to the teen community and the youth community much better.
No, I think that's a really good point, and that is something that we want to develop. I do want to say that we have an unofficial social media presence. Most of us are involved in the Tri-Valley Social Justice Facebook page and the different Facebook pages that exist for diversity in the Tri-Valley area. So we don't lack social media presence. A lot of our partners are actually we found them through those pages, and they've become our stakeholders through that way. So we do have a really good platform to jump off of to spread awareness. We're not starting from zero. And I do want to assure the commissioners that we will have a pretty good landing. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioners Roberts.
So, Stephanie, first of all, just want to thank you for creating such a wonderful project. I think that this is a fantastic opportunity for the community to build unity through art. I don't think we have a lot of opportunities to do that. And so I think that this is definitely an important project that we should certainly look at. But I would have to, agree with my fellow commissioners on some points. I think that, the vision for this project is fantastic. But I think that the implementation piece of it has a lot of question marks. Like many of my fellow commissioners mentioned, since I'm talking last here, I'm going to try to not ask many of the questions that have already been asked, but I had pages of questions here. And so one thing that I know that wasn't brought up, like one thing in particular on the project description, some questions there. You mentioned, you referred to prompts, I didn't see any. It might be good to have some samples of what these prompts will be, right? We know that prompts are ways of starting a conversation, right? What types of prompts are we talking about? What's an example of a prompt that's going to start that conversation, right? I think it would be great for all of us to see what those prompts are, right? So, and because at first I thought, well, maybe it's just the art itself that is the prompt, right? And then you use the QR code to go to a website to have a conversation. But I was also thinking, well, maybe it's also not just the art, it's when you go use the QR code to go to a website, there will be a sort of some topics of discussion, which is what I'm assuming. Is that correct, Stephanie? Is what I'm thinking there? Is that what is being thought of?
Yeah, I mean, the heart of creating the prompts, and to your point, we are going to create the prompts surrounding the theme of breathing free. And some of the ideas are, creating space. What are ways that you have found people make space for you in a situation where you didn't feel like your voice was being heard? What's your story? Those type of things. Yeah, and the goal of the prompts is to bring awareness that these are stories in our community. And, because it is social media, that social media component, where people can respond in the comments. And that's how we hope to stimulate that conversation.
Okay, good. I was assuming that I didn't want to assume too much, but that's kind of what I was thinking. And the social media aspect of this is really important, right? Because it is going to stimulate a lot of conversation. The reason why I was asking the question about that, and if you have, and I think Commissioner Kensington Lee asked us already about the specific website. And that sounds like it's not created yet, but because I didn't see anything on your budget that was allocating funds to the social media aspect of this project.
Yeah, we did have a line item in our budget for miscellaneous items because we're accounting for things like those.
I must have missed that. I didn't see, maybe I missed the miscellaneous piece, but I thought I didn't see anything for the.
Oh, no worries. It was left intentionally ambiguous because we know there's going to be a lot of fees that come with creating certain pages and things like that. Yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Oh, yeah, no, okay. And then, lastly here, a lot of questions were asked. I don't want to ask too many of the same questions here. My final piece here is that I think there may have been an oversight, unless I missed something. The art installation process has ample layers of approval for the actual park exhibit, right? So we have, we have in place the Arts Committee, right, which then would be pushed onto the Parks Commission for approval of the art out on exhibit, actually out there, the actual exhibit. However, on the there appears to be little to no approval process for the online artwork, and this is just based on the information that was provided to us to read through. And so I know everyone's kind of touched on this, and that it seems like that's a common concern here, is that there's sort of a lack of approval process on the social media aspect here that we're talking about. So I think that based on that, I think there's still a lot of questions to be asked about how we could move forward with that piece of it, because, to be honest with you, right, a few will be chosen for public exhibit, and the majority of everything else is going to go online. And the way that I read it, it seemed like everything was going to go online with little to no approval process there. And so that was my biggest concern, and I just kind of wanted to hear it from you tonight, how that was going to work.
That's a really good question. I think the key difference for us and our collective is that the difference is that the vinyl banners are being hung in a public space, whereas all the artwork that we plan to post on social media will be on SRSJC private pages that we own. And so while we do want to do justice representing the city well, we do see that as our space. And we have a pretty rigorous process too for approval, and we have a social media coordinator and a team that will be going through all the submissions to make sure they follow our guidelines, and before we post anything in a public space or a public website or a space like that.
Sure. So one, and thank you for that. One recommendation might be to maybe include the city or the Arts Committee for your social media piece, right? So that it just adds that extra layer, and I think that you might consider that as you refine this present your approach, is looking at having the Arts Committee be a part of that approval process, at least for the online piece, and only during the exhibition period, right? The installation period. I'm not talking about before or after, because that's your organization, and I'm only talking about during the exhibit, right? Is having someone from the Arts Committee be a part of the approval process for most of the art that will be online.
Oh, okay. So, sorry, can I clarify?
Sure.
Your suggestion is to have a city representative also on our social media team to
that's correct. That's okay. Right. And okay. I think so that it would have a similar layer of protection that we're getting on the public art, like the actual physical art at the park. There was several layers there, right? But then there was no layers of that in terms of the social media aspect, which I believe is a really big part of this. And we really have to look at the social media aspect of it as just as importantly as we do the physical art. So, you know, by having the arts, you know, someone from arts a part of that, right? I think it could solve that concern. It's just something to think about. It's just it caught my attention right away that there wasn't anything there for that.
Oh, no, I appreciate that consideration. And, you know, when we asked Dr. Pallavi to be our art coordinator, she has extensive experience working with the city and working on the arts advisory and through those approval processes. And she's very well acquainted with those things. And our hope is that under her guidance and her direction that, you know, that we hope that all the things that we do would be aligned with our city's values also, you know, and so that's very important to us also. I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, I really do want to thank you for a fantastic presentation, a wonderful project, a great idea, an amazing vision. And thanks for the time and, you know, coming here tonight to present. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate
that. Commissioner Huntington Lee, I think you have some more.
Yeah. Well, I actually, Vice Chair Lopez Lucy, do you have some comments? Because I want to come through with a motion, so I'd wait for you to make your comments.
Okay. Well, I think that, you know, everyone's covered most everything of comment, you know, questions and whatever. I think they're all very good. I agree that Stephanie, your presentation was wonderful, very explicit and professional. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. And I kind of echo what everybody said, the questions that we've had and everything. I do think probably at this point, as I think you're going to come up with, Heidi, is that the motion here is that we're recommending approval. We're not getting down into the nitty gritty at this time, but that you will be back with us, I'm sure, from time to time, giving us updates of how you're proceeding. Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you. And Heidi, if you want to proceed, please.
Yeah, actually, my motion is going to be a little different than what you've said, Vice Chair. But first, I want to say to Commissioner Dorlick, who I've served on the Parks Commission for many years, I want to let you know that I heard you with what you've said. Okay, as I listened to all my fellow commissioners, and I know your love for the arts and your belief in the positive impact of the arts. So I want you to know that I did hear you. However, if this project is on a path to yes, it will be there in January, it will be there in February, and we can't predict that, but I do feel like we need to do due diligence to give this organization a chance and the project a chance to come into focus a little bit more. And so that if and when we do say yes, you know, anybody comes to us, we've done our job. So I would like to make a motion right now that we continue this item until the January commission meeting in order to give the San Ramon Social Justice Collective an opportunity to further answer our questions, to come up with examples of prompts, as Commissioner Roberts indicated, to give us a clearer picture of their website and their social media presence, and to provide us with a copy of the call to art application.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, any further discussion? All right, Madam Secretary, then would you please call the vote?
Yes, Commissioner Dorlick,
No.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Osland,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you again for coming and giving us really good information that we'll be looking forward to hearing more from you soon.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, commissioners.
Yeah, I got to get out all my papers in order here again. All right, so we have been to number 8.1, and now we'll be going to 8.2, the Crow Canyon Gardens renovation and program recommendations. And presentation will be by Kathy Hyman, our Park and Community Service Director. Hi, and thank you, Kathy.
Okay, good evening. I'm going to share my screen here in a moment so that we can kind of dive back into the Crow Canyon Garden issue. So bear with me for 1 second while I bring this up. All right, can you all see that screen?
Yes.
Yes, beautiful. All right, as we all know, we've been on a bit of a journey with Crow Canyon Gardens. And so what I've done is I did generate a PowerPoint presentation, which is pretty much the information that you would find in the staff report. And I did that to make it easier for people watching the presentation to be able to follow along. So I'm going to kind of take us on the journey back through what's gone on and what the facilities committee, who you asked to go and delve into this, came up with in regards to their recommendations. So the first thing, they did come to 3 recommendations. So the first big recommendation that they had was to adopt a vision for Crow Canyon Gardens that retains the peaceful atmosphere, serene environment, and emphasis on nature. They also approved the recommendation that future classes, events, and programs at Crow Canyon Gardens should be focused on nature and the natural world and be kept at low levels as determined by the Parks and Community Services Department, again, to ensure that the peaceful and serene environment is maintained. And their third recommendation is to approve the recommendation that Crow Canyon Gardens should be renovated using the David Gates and Associates rendering. Now, this is the Nature Park Foundation's plan, but the David Gates and Associates rendering as a starting point with the complete demolition of the buildings, adding a new shade structure and the addition of permanent restrooms with a dedicated maintenance area for the park. So if you go kind of back, we all know the City Council adopted our Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan. Crow Canyon Gardens is the only park in our current inventory that is identified as being in poor condition, which is, the facilities that need major repairs to the point that they're unusable and they discourage use. The plan includes a specific goal related to the renovation of the park that identifies improvements as a high priority that should be completed within the next 5 years. So this is the actual goal that's in the master plan. It's just a cut and paste. And it kind of details that we should enhance Crow Canyon Gardens, the parking, the restrooms, improved access, safety, lighting, nature-based play, self-guided interpretation, signage, increased number of rentable garden plots, and renovation of the demonstration gardens. It goes on to include that park renovations are needed to make the park more inviting, which I think everybody would agree. The improvements should reflect the site's natural setting, connect with the landscape environment and adjacent creek, and help maintain, again, that serene environment where residents connect and can engage with nature. So the Nature Park Foundation approached the city with a plan to raise funds to renovate the Mudd's restaurant buildings, the parking lot, and some of the adjacent park attributes at the gardens in exchange for the ability to offer classes, programs, and events primarily run by foundation volunteers on the site, the ability to sell sponsorships to businesses and individuals with some permanent recognition for those sponsors on the site, a priority for scheduling classes, events, and programs, and some dedicated office space with some ample storage for foundation supplies and equipment in what they would want to be the newly renovated buildings on the site. The Parks and Community Services Department was tasked with developing an MOU with the foundation to kind of clarify how that partnership would work. And so to that end, city staff and the Nature Park Foundation have met 14 times over the last 6 months, and we agree on many points for a potential MOU. However, it came to light that a final conceptual plan and programming for the plan for the park would be needed before an MOU could be executed. The Nature Park Foundation requested that the programming and conceptual plan elements be brought to the commission for consideration and a recommendation prior to continuing with the MOU negotiation. And so why is that? And really the reason for that was that the Nature Park Foundation has a very specific vision for the layout of the park, the park attributes, the renovation of the buildings, and the types and frequency of classes and programs on the site. And they expressed that they would not necessarily be interested in fundraising for the renovation if the conceptual plan and programming levels are not conducive to their vision, and therefore requested that the conceptual plan and programming levels be established first so that everyone had kind of a clear slate. This is what we're aimed for, and that the MOU could then be negotiated at that point. So to that end, on August 12th, your group, the Parks Commission, tasked the Facilities Committee with the job of reviewing all of the plans and data that have been gathered in regards to Crow Canyon Gardens, discuss them as a group with the best interest of all the citizens in mind, and make a recommendation to the commission in regards to a programming plan and conceptual plan elements for the park. So to do that, they set out several goals for the Facilities Committee. So the Facilities Committee set out with the first thing was to review and discuss the Crow Canyon Gardens Outreach Summary Report, review and discuss the elements of the Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan that related to Crow Canyon Gardens, review all of the past commission meetings that had to do with Crow Canyon Gardens, review data from the Community Garden Evaluations and Volunteer Demonstration Garden Program, review financial projections related to facility operation, park maintenance, future programming, and then receive actual presentations from the Nature Park Foundation of their vision of the renovation of the facility, park, and future program plans during and following the renovation of the structures, as well as taking a tour of the park site and the structures to identify opportunities that align with the master plan, and then any potential issues that may need to be addressed. In addition, they had a goal of developing recommendations for the full commission for Crow Canyon Gardens. And when they set out, they were to include these concepts, but they weren't limited to having a rough draft conceptual plan that includes all of the recreational elements and attributes that should be included in the park once renovated, a draft programming plan for the park that includes levels and types of programming for the site, and then, of course, any other recommendations related to Crow Canyon Gardens that came to light through the course of the meetings. So our Facilities Committee has done some serious time and energy to accomplish all of those goals. So they met on September 23rd, reviewed all of the previous reports and surveys. It was quite a stack that they had to go through. On October 7th, they received presentations from the Nature Park Foundation on their vision for the park and the programming. On October 14th, they toured the site with a landscape designer from David Gates and Associates and the president of the Nature Park Foundation to walk through the conceptual plan elements envisioned by the foundation. On October 28th, they met with city staff from the Public Works Department and reviewed annual and long-term cost projections for the operation and maintenance of Crow Canyon Gardens and the associated structures. On November 4th, the committee reviewed additional financial scenarios and received a presentation from the Nature Park Foundation on the foundation's desired level of programming and their preferred covenants of a potential MOU with the city. And finally, on November 10th, the Facilities Committee developed recommendations based on all of the information gathered and reviewed at the previous meetings and came to consensus again using the vision of retain the peaceful atmosphere, serene environment, and emphasis on nature that they had set out initially as their guiding principle. The recommendations and rationale for the recommendations are based on all of the information reviewed and gathered in preparation for and during those preceding 6 meetings. So you want to dig in a little further into the recommendations and how they envisioned it and why. And so I'm going to take you through these, although once we get to the end of the presentation and after public comment, I'm sure the Facilities Committee themselves will want to echo or explain maybe further some of these, but this is the big picture that I think I can express for them. So in the first, adopt a vision for Crow Canyon Gardens that retains the peaceful atmosphere, serene environment, and emphasis on nature. The committee felt really strongly that through the surveys, the master plan, and all of the meetings, that the community values Crow Canyon Gardens really for its unique attributes and the ability for people to show up to the park and connect with nature, and that access to the creek in the serene and peaceful environment that is just very difficult to find in a suburban city. The master plan echoes that idea that the improvements there should reflect the site's natural setting and connect the landscape environment and adjacent creek and help maintain that serene environment where residents can connect and engage with nature. Their second recommendation was in regards to the classes, events, and programs, that they should be focused on nature and the natural world and be kept at the low levels as determined by the Parks and Community Services Department, again, for the peaceful, serene environment. So they felt pretty strongly that the focus of the programming should have an emphasis on nature and the natural world. And in defining that, they talked about animals, plants, rocks, etc. And that classes based on health, wellness, and cooking were not in line with the vision of the focus on nature. So for example, a class on apple pie making in connection with the orchard, or growing and cooking with herbs, or craft classes with a nature theme would be a great fit for Crow Canyon Gardens. But general classes, general cooking classes would not and are not necessarily needed. There are 3 other licensed kitchens in San Ramon at the San Ramon Community Center, the Doherty Station Community Center, and the El Costa Community Center that could all be used for cooking classes. So cooking classes aren't necessarily a focus for this particular park. They also felt that fitness classes like yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi are all currently offered by the Parks and Community Services Department, and the addition of space to offer them is not needed, nor did they necessarily fit in again with that proposed nature theme. They did endorse the idea, definitely, of having a docent-led tour program for the park once renovated. That would provide more opportunities for nature education that would enhance environmental education, but again, not detract from that serene environment that you get going to Crow Canyon Gardens. Their third recommendation was that the gardens should be renovated using the David Gates and Associates rendering as a starting point, with complete demolition of the buildings, adding a new shade structure, and with the addition of a permanent restroom with a dedicated maintenance area for the park. So really, ultimately, the facilities committee liked a lot, really the majority of the conceptual plan that was presented by David Gates and Associates for the park area, that built upon what is already in the park, but enhanced it in the natural environment. They felt that the highest priority for Crow Canyon Gardens should be actually the park renovation and not the structures in the park, and that the park itself is the area that the community loves and is special, and they felt that that was what should be our first and highest priority, not the construction or reconstruction of the buildings and structures on the site. When they looked at the park, they looked at the attributes for a renovated park focusing on the natural environment and nature education. So they looked at it and thought, well, you know, we still need the low fences and safety measures to protect the public from hazards. We need permanent outdoor restrooms in that park because it still has a temporary one. The park needs a maintenance area for tools and equipment, on-site parking to support proposed uses. So there is some need to upgrade and do some parking, expanded community garden plots because they're full, a paved non-slip walking path loop, which is in line with the park master plan, a grassy irrigated meadow that stays green year round, renovated group picnic area, new updated water fountains, garbage cans, you know, basic facilities, nature garden, orchard area with an arbor, a shade structure, but maybe a big and beautiful shade structure that has, you know, some of the outdoor kitchen elements that could be secured within it. So it could be a little bit bigger of a shade structure, access to the creek, interpretive signage and directional signage appropriate to the nature theme, and then maybe a small nature themed play area. So this is, it's in your packet, but for the sake of the people that are watching today, this is an image of kind of looking down on Crow Canyon Gardens. This is the David Gates rendering that the Nature Park Foundation had created, and kind of just gives you an overall idea of what it was that they're envisioning. So as I said, the renovation of the park is a higher priority than the renovation of the structures. And although a renovated structure could be used for community rentals, weddings, meetings, and events, the committee felt that the level of usage would deter from the enjoyment of the national aspects of the park, which are unlike any other park in our current system. The committee felt that the community-wide access to the park and being able to enjoy a serene environment focused on nature was more important than the potential revenue generation through rentals or the additional indoor spaces for classes. And they further defined that Crow Canyon Gardens should maintain its existing open hours from dawn to dusk, which is in line with the other parks in our systems. So it was really that, you know, all these different events, if you had them there, they wouldn't necessarily be about nature, and that would start to change the culture and the feeling in that park. So they did go a little bit further with nature classes and events, and they expressed absolutely 100% support for nature classes, but felt that nature classes and events could be accomplished outdoors with, again, a well-appointed shade structure for the majority of the year, and that renovation of the structures on the site would not have to be completed in order to have and maintain a low level of nature-themed classes, events, and programs. So again, in looking at a potential shade structure, they talked about, you know, if you had a big shade structure that copied the ceiling from the shape of the ceiling that's in the current mud structures, and you had a kitchen that was able to be secured, then you would have sink and a refrigerator that you could run really wonderful nature classes without necessarily having to have a building. So they also felt that the renovation of the structures would be costly for both the Nature Park Foundation initially and the city long-term for maintenance. And in order to make that investment viable, usage of the building would need to be maximized, which again could potentially result in a higher level of usage that would disrupt that peaceful atmosphere and serene environment. Rental events would not necessarily maintain a focus on nature and would introduce larger groups of people and general activity in the park on a daily basis. And if the building is renovated, the facility committee felt that it really could not be used to its full capacity due to trying to keep the levels a little lower in the park, or really in the evenings, without changing that serene, peaceful environment in the park. So when you look at all this, the fiscal impact, the facilities committee requested staff prepare a financial comparison of several different scenarios related to renovation of the park and the structures. So the committee discussed 4 scenarios, and that was in your packet, but they focused primarily on scenario number 1 with the support of the Nature Park Foundation, and scenario number 3 without the support of the Nature Park Foundation. Then that primarily being due to the scenario does not include renovation of the existing structures, although I believe everybody would be open to scenario 3 with the support of the Nature Park Foundation if that was something that they wanted to do too. So when you look at the scenarios, this is just kind of a quick snapshot, and it gives you kind of a bit of a guide to know what we were looking at. And so if you look in scenario 1, this is the park renovated per the Gates plan, with the structures renovated as proposed by the Nature Park Foundation and with the addition of a prefab bathroom in the park. So just to kind of give you a guide, this first little section total is the cost of building a renovation of the structures, the prefab restroom, the renovation, and the demolition. And then you move down to the second section, which is really the annual cost of maintaining the building, operating the building. The number in red is potential revenue based on only a potential of 50% occupancy for the city running programs. And then you come down to the third number, which is kind of your long-term maintenance costs over a period of time. And so that's scenario 1. Scenario 3 was the park renovated per the David Gates rendering, with complete demolition of the buildings, adding the new shade structure and outdoor kitchen, and with the addition of the prefab bathroom and maintenance area in the park. And again, you've got your 3 different numbers that come down here. So relatively speaking, the annual costs for the annual maintenance are not dissimilar. There's only about a 20,000 or so difference. The big differences, of course, are in the cost of building and renovation because it includes the building structure versus the shade structure, and then in the long-term maintenance. So as you bring it down with the nature park proposed $4 million funding, the total cost in this scenario was a 6.6 million versus a 5.6 million. So that kind of wraps up the presentation of the PowerPoint. The steps following approval of this would be that staff would contact the Nature Park Foundation to assess whether or not they are interested in proceeding with negotiation of the MOU and continuing with that process with the city based on the program level and park renovation recommendations made by the Parks Commission. And so with that, I will hand it back over to you, Vice Chair Lopez. Lucy?
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Kathy. And at this time, we will open public comment, and I will ask our secretary if we have written and public personally contacts.
We do have 2 people in the audience that would like to speak, so I am going to change my screen over real quick.
It looks like our team commissioner may have fallen off there.
I was wondering where she went.
Yeah, I think that's why her hand is raised. So Christy, I'll need to bring her back into the meeting.
Yeah, let me move her over. There she goes, and one moment here.
Oh.
Okay, so audience. Okay, so our first one to speak will be Abram Wilson. I'm going to allow him to speak now. 1 moment. There he is. Hi, Abram, whenever you're ready.
I'm trying to unmute. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Good evening, commissioners and staff. You know, this year has been and continues to be one of the most stressful years in our lives. The virus, the politics, job loss, you name it. But tonight, we're here to help to do something that's really positive. This property mud has been a main topic for many meetings, personally for over the last 20 years. From the purchase, the original purchase from the city council to redevelopment to the designation of the park. The foundation met with the Park Commission, also with the foundation met with the city council. At that time, the city council understood and embraced a vision. The vision, it was a collaboratory vision of the foundation and the city council. One of the main addressing in the city council was that of the buildings. And we agreed that this area was and is special. And the city council bought in and agreed on the virtual concept and said, please get together with staff and the commission to form the MOU. I'm not here to talk about why there wasn't an MOU. I think Kathy covered that. But to state that I am committed to form a MOU, the same MOU that the other foundations have with the city. The basic thing with that is the fact that anything that we do is under the guise of the city. This MOU is basically that we're looking to have is really no different from any MOU from the residents, from any other foundation by the council. But the residents, this differs a little by the fact that we, the foundation, is going to raise millions of dollars. But the final control will be the city council and the commission. The city council directed staff via the commission to form an MOU, not to change a vision that the city council and the foundation agreed upon. The subcommittee of the commission viewed the site plan. And the site plan was David Gates formed the site plan, but the plan itself was the foundation. It was inputted by Mrs. Armstrong and then presented to the city council, to the foundation committee. The MOU is a living document.
Pardon me, Mr. Wilson, but we'll have to ask you to wrap up because the 3 minutes is over at this time. Another sentence, please, maybe, or two at the most.
The main premise of my statement is this is unique. This agreement was with the city council, and the city council directed the planning commit, the Parks Commission to work on the MOU and not to talk about the structures or anything like that. So I would like this to go back to the council so that we could work out a MOU or work with staff and the commission to make this MOU a reality so that we can move on. It's a living document and we can change it and adapt, but I will close by saying that it's imperative. It's really imperative that we understand the importance of this site and the importance of everyone working together.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, at this time, I know it's not the norm, but would like, if any of the commissioners would like for me to clarify and go into any detail of any statements that I made through the chair, would like to hear from them, especially referring to the fact that this is direction or joint vision of the council and the foundation.
I think we'll refer that to when we take questions later on. Thank you.
So I will get a chance to speak again.
If questions are directed to you, yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
I do not see any other speakers, but I thought Frenette was going to speak, but she does not have her hand up. Okay, now we do. Looks like Abram is coming back. Abram, were you coming back on? You're muted.
Madam Secretary, don't we have to go to the next person, please, for speaking?
There was not another person, so.
Okay, then I would, at this time, if there's no further people from the public to speak, then I would now close the public portion. Okay, at this time, now we then will go to the comments or things from the commission. And since the Facilities Commission, Commissioner Don Birnbaum and Commissioner Julia was On the facilities, I'm going to ask that Dawn be the first speaker on this issue.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. You know, I think we have to put this in the proper context. I went back and I looked, and we started this discussion about what to do with Crow Canyon Gardens back in 2018. So this has gone through a whole series of discussions. We've had surveys, we've had community meetings, I looked back in my records and I saw back in February of 2019, this question of what we wanted to do with Crow Canyon Gardens came to the commission, and the commission voted 7-0 to basically maintain the park in as natural state as possible with as few amenities as appropriate. The discussion moved on to the city council, and at the city council, there was some discussion about asking the staff to go back and discuss a potential MOU with the foundation group. There was never a vote by the full city council on giving a approval of any kind of discussion, but it was directed that Kathy open a discussion with the foundation to discuss a potential MOU. Out of those discussions, and Kathy indicated, she had over 14 discussions with the foundation. It became clear that some of the direction that the foundation wanted to go in might be inconsistent with what the commission had indicated. And that's where we came back to the facilities committee to go back through the process that we went through. I believe the three of us took a very hard and very fair look at the data, which was the survey data and what the community has told us that they want for this very unique park. And we looked at what the presentations were from the Nature Foundation. And unfortunately, I believe that there is a difference of intent of what to do with the programming at the park and how they want the park to be managed. And I believe that through our discussions, the three of us came to the conclusion that having a large structure there, as Kathy went through, really was inappropriate for the site and what we believe the long-term use of the park should be. And that's how we came to the recommendations that we came to. I believe that there is an opportunity for a foundation to partner with the city if their vision is in line with the vision that we've laid out. And I would welcome the Nature Foundation if they could get in alignment with what we have laid out as far as the type of programming and the type of activities that we feel is appropriate for that park. So as Kathy said, she'll take this back to the foundation and ask them if they would like to continue with a discussion. I do differ with Abrams on his comment that this was a direction that the city council voted on, because there was no vote by the city council. They basically referred the topic back to Kathy and to the parks to have a further discussion. So I will turn this over to Commissioner Oslin and let her add her comments.
Before we do that, Vice Chair Lopez Lucy, we do have Frenette that would like to speak. Do you want to do it after, or do you want to bring her in now?
I believe we should probably go back to public comment and let her speak for, the appropriate time that is allotted for her.
Okay.
So I will then open the public comment again for Ms. Frenette.
Frenette, are you there?
Foundation. A year ago last night, the City Council met to discuss the fate of the buildings in the Muds Restaurant Complex. After staff gave a report requesting that our foundation be given 120 days to develop an MOU, and a year after that to raise the funding, the council unanimously agreed to let us go ahead. Several commissioners were at the meeting, but most of you weren't. So here are some audio clips that will give you a sense of what the council was agreeing to and why.
Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting, December the 10th, 2019.
First, Dave Hudson.
I don't think anybody ever would want to demolish that. I would just suggest to all the people involved tonight in the council that we just stay abreast of what's going on through the parks and how this MOU proceeds, et cetera, and the money that is needed.
Phil Alone.
How we celebrate the notion and honor the notion of farm to table and how important this site was for that, to me is one of the most critical elements of this. I'm supportive as Dave is of
Sabina Zafar.
Congratulations, Frenette. Your persistence has really brought us to this. When we're building this, we want to be able to back it up by the decision we did make.
Scott Perkins.
With the help and support and interest of this the Nature Center Foundation, and we're really looking forward to that. I really want to see that happen. So, high standards, city facility, and I do support the proposal as presented.
And Bill Clarkson.
Share to those park commissioners who are here. Thank you for being here and all the work you've done over the last year, talking both about our 10-year master plan, but also about this particular park and your recommendations. I want to make sure that this council's respectful and reflectful of your recommendations and what you want that park to be going forward. And I know that you didn't make any recommendations for additional funding of this park to going towards this building. So I know that goes to the second part of my thought here, which is we're really hopeful that this organization can go forward and develop an MOU with our staff the next 120 days. But I think the one that's going to be the most important step is the money. If you don't get to the $3 million, and there's not going to be money coming from my point of view, at least the next 12 months from the city. So you've got a formidable task in front of you, but you've got some amazing community members involved in this. Wish you the best of luck in terms of that process.
It's clear the council wanted us to raise the funding to renovate the buildings for a nature center. I hope you will postpone any vote on the park until there is an MOU before you, laying out how our foundation will work with the city and the Parks Department to fulfill that vision. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay, are there any further public speakers? Madam Secretary?
The only one that is asking to speak again is Abram Wilson, but I would like to make the announcement that speakers may only speak one time during public comment.
Okay, thank you. We will close public comment again. Again, now I will go back to the commission for comments and all, and Commissioner Oslin, you would be our next speaker, please.
Great, thank you, Chair Lopez Lucy. First, I want to thank Kathy for organizing our meetings and inviting the speakers and providing all the research and the presentations and really pulling us all together. She was spot on with her report back to all of us tonight with everything that we talked about. It's very clearly explained on our methodology and all the research and the homework that we all did. I want to thank Christy for providing us with all the materials and scheduling 3 very busy people, actually more than that, and for staying on top of us. We met weekly, and I appreciate all the work you did, Christy. I also want to thank Keith Hayes for staying with us through this process. He came to our meetings, he supported all of us, and he brought historical information and intelligence to the table. I also want to thank the Nature Park Foundation for sharing their vision, their programming, and for putting together the site plan, working with Gates Associates, and for their endless commitment to seeing Crow Canyon Gardens find its new identity. What they've done so far is very impressive. And I want to thank you all for providing a wealth of information, for doing a lot of research, and for having all this information leading us and also giving us the tours to the gardens. I also want to thank Public Works and the Parks and Community Services staff for taking a deep dive and providing us with estimates for the cost for the buildings and maintenance and for staff time and for various different scenarios, because I know that was a lot of work that they put into giving us what we needed so that we had all the information. I also want to thank my partners, Commissioner Birnbaum and Commissioner Lopez Lucy, for all your commitment to this process and for doing your homework, coming prepared for our meetings. I learned a lot about our foundations, about MOUs and covenants, and how every foundation collaborates with the city. And after all the time that we spent together, I'm confident that we went through gathering all the information that we needed to make a recommendation to the commission on the best plan of action moving forward. The big 3 factors for me in reaching our recommendations were first cost, and the second was management and control of the facilities, and the third was maintaining the guiding principles and the vision of the park staying focused on nature. Kathy alluded to our vision, which was retain the peaceful atmosphere, serene environment, and emphasis on nature. And I look back at our master plan goal in our master plan, and we say that Crow Canyon Gardens includes community gardens, demonstration gardens, and former Muds restaurant building. Major park renovations are needed to make the park more inviting. Improvements should reflect the site's natural setting and connect with the landscape environment and adjacent creek and help maintain a serene environment where residents can connect and engage with nature. So tying this all back, I want you to know that I'm a preservationist at heart. I'm all about repurposing what we have and not tearing things down. But when we went back and we looked at all of the details involved in this, it became very clear to me that the buildings started to lose their priority. I believe that some parts of the buildings might be able to be salvaged and that we could use for other purposes. But at this point, I'm really feeling that we need to focus on how to create a nature park that is focused on the serene environment where everyone can come, because it is a very unique space. I go frequently, and we talked a lot about retaining those buildings, having a parking lot, having weddings. I'm thinking long-term revenue for the city. Are we shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't keep these buildings? But it really seemed to be in conflict with the whole theme of what this park is about, which is having a special place in nature where you can go to the creek, you can walk around in the gardens, you can have a beautiful picnic, and really enjoy the peace and quiet. Some of the ideas in the Gates design through our discussions with parking and things weren't going to work. So, those kinds of discussions came up for us, and, we're not necessarily talking about that this evening, but that also showed that there isn't going to be enough parking if you have a wedding there or a conference or a retreat. And do we want that? so it kept coming back to what is the purpose of this park and how do we want to see it developed? So I support the decision to move forward with recommendations 1, 2, and 3. And I hope that the Nature Park Foundation can also support these along with us. That's all my comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Heidi Kenzinski-Lee.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Lopez Lucy. I first want to wholeheartedly thank the Facilities Committee because this is a chunky issue. You guys did a lot of heavy lifting on behalf of the Parks Commission, and I know what's involved with that, so I appreciate it. I also want to speak to Frenette, who I think probably is still listening, to say how much I sincerely and truly admire her passion and her persistence. I absolutely recognize the time, the energy, and the heart that she's put into the San Ramon Nature Park Foundation. And that is admirable. And I want to, regardless of what happens here, she needs to know that I admire that. You know, I remember when I was last on the Parks Commission, and we were even talking about it back then, Commissioner Birnbaum, and we were presented with a proposal to utilize the space for a daycare. I'm sure you'll remember that. And I hadn't given up that hope of having that be a showcase, a center for nature education. I just knew that it was such a special space that that's probably what we should stay with. And so I remember that being the case. And at the time, I didn't know exactly what that might look like. And since returning to the Parks Commission, I've had to personally do some serious soul searching as to how to achieve that goal within the context of the master plan and in light of community-wide resources and needs. You know, and it's funny, in this role, I think we work hard to ask ourselves why we should or shouldn't do certain things. But I also try to ask myself, you know, push myself out of the box and say, well, why shouldn't we do that? You know what I mean? I mean, just so that we're innovative and we are open to new ideas. But sometimes the fact is that the realities tell us why we can't do something. The realities tell us, well, you can't do this because. So I am, in short, in support of the facilities recommendations, the 3 recommendations, and here are my becauses. One, I do agree with the overriding goal of Crow Canyon Gardens retaining a peaceful atmosphere, serene environment, and emphasis on nature. And I personally do see how some of the foundation plans could be counter to that, could jeopardize that. So number 2, I agree we should avoid redundancy. We already have several facilities in our community that can be used for the less nature-oriented events and activities. And we have some facilities that are underutilized. We know this, and we don't want to add another facility when we've got other facilities that could serve the same purpose and are underutilized. I think that's really important. I am very in tune to the financial considerations. I think those are very important. Building renovation and maintenance costs are considerable. In addition, you know, we have a vast system of aging facilities and parks that require ongoing and increasing maintenance expenditures, financial support. We need to keep a very thoughtful eye on adding anything to our financial burden as a city. That's really critical that we be fiscally responsible. And then we need to look at Crow Canyon Gardens in the context of our entire park system. We need to look at it, not, as I've said before, in a vacuum, but as part of the overall picture, and that's really important. Having said that, let me reiterate, you know, I am still very excited to see the nature-based programming at the site. Even some outdoor cooking classes in the souped up, or what did you guys call it, well-appointed shade structure. You know, having been very involved with Diablo Day Camp in Lafayette, the Girl Scout Day Camp, they have one of those sort of souped up outdoor shade structures. There have been classes there, there's been trainings there, there have been meetings there. It is well loved and well utilized, and that's what I sort of anticipate that you guys are looking at. I am convinced that many of the programs and the classes proposed by the foundation can be implemented within the context of the Facilities Committee recommendation. And I see that there is a role for the foundation to have a positive impact at Crow Canyon Gardens, even within the confines of the Facilities Committee's proposal, including the virtual classes. I love that you guys are looking at virtual classes. It shows you guys are dynamic and responding to the current needs. And I love some of those personalities that talk about growing and talk about cooking with natural things and talk about farm to table. So I think a lot of what you guys want to accomplish as a foundation could most certainly be accomplished at this site, even within what is being outlined here. I also would suggest that there is plenty here to merit support, ongoing support from Sunset. I think if the foundation wants to celebrate and preserve nature, as I know that they do, there's a basis here for a potential MOU is if, as Commissioner Birnbaum says, we can align more closely. I also feel like there's plenty for Sunset to support here. So I'd like to see whether that's, Kathy talking to the foundation and hopefully working things out and then going to Sunset and saying, hey, it didn't look like what the foundation had originally suggested, but we've got a lot of gold here. We've got a lot of good stuff that we can possibly pursue. The last two things I wanted to say, one is, and I think Commissioner Osland, you mentioned this as well, is that I love the idea of utilizing some of the building materials from the tear down, whether that's incorporating it into the shade structure, incorporating it into decorative fencing, something that celebrates MUD's, stewardship of farm to table, something that honors the history and the fact that this establishment was very nature oriented. I think we could do that and it wouldn't be too cost prohibitive. So I'd like to see staff explore that and come up with some ideas with gates and figure out what's possible. In short, I think we could do some amazing things with this property to preserve and celebrate nature as outlined by the facility committee recommendations, and I'm prepared to support them. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. And our next commissioner, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Wow, I just want to say thank you to the Facilities Committee, echoing what Commissioner Kinzinson Lee said about the heavy lifting that you guys obviously did to get us to this point. There was obviously a lot of meetings, a lot of due diligence involved, and I really appreciate the thoughtful work that you did to look at coming up with sort of the guiding principles, because over the last year, obviously we've been talking about this quite a lot. And one of the issues that I've had, not even just financially, which is one hurdle I think that we're looking at, but in terms of the programming, I think that the organization has some fantastic ideas that I could see, being implemented there. But then, of course, there are the other ones that, I was conflicted with. But when I read through this material and saw that, I really did agree and appreciate this whole idea of the guiding principles of retaining and the peaceful atmosphere, serene environment, and emphasis on nature. And I grew up here in San Ramon, and there's nothing more that I would love to see than for this area of San Ramon be preserved in the way that you guys have discussed in terms of your recommendations. It would be wonderful to see. I love the ideas of the shade structure there, the access to the creek. And I know that there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of what we can do down at the creek and all of that. But just to have that access, I think is really important. I'll just share with you that at one point I actually did a little hike myself. I went down in the creek and I tried to hike from the creek area right there, that access point. And I tried to get over to the woodlot. And I thought, gosh, well, how great, how cool would it be to connect those two areas? But obviously there was a lot of issues trying to get there. I had to knock on a few doors to look in the backyard to see if we could cut through to do that. And so I really think that this is a special place. But I do also agree in maintaining that emphasis on nature. And there is a little bit of that conflict with some of the programming. And so one of my biggest questions was, was for tonight was, and I think you've all answered this, all of that spoke, as well as you, Kathy, is this idea of, we're not saying we don't want to work with the organization. What we're saying is we are hoping to work with you in sort of the guidelines that we've put together, that we've actually collected from the community in terms of what they want. So if you can meet those guidelines, please, let's continue this work together and find the best way to stick to these guiding principles of preserving this park and preserving nature. So I think that's really important. And then lastly, I actually had this same question here. It's in my notes. Have we considered, the materials in that building? Have we considered working with the arts, committee to come together to talk about some ideas of what we can do with some of the materials in that structure to utilize them in some way, shape, or form in this whole idea of preservation, if that's the way we're going. And so, that would be one question is bringing in groups like that to be a part of this transition into preserving this site. So there's nothing more than I would love to see than for this to move forward in that way. So thank you all again for all the hard work and everything that you've done to get us to this stage.
Okay, Commissioner Doyle, did you have any comments that you want to speak on?
None at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I too have to thank the two people that worked on the facilities. I mean, we really put our heart and soul in it, and we really did really research everything, and we have gone and listened to the community in our 10-year park plan and all. But I do want to thank the foundation. I know you have done very much in planning. Your ideas that you've had have been very good. I do think that we still can work together very much so, because a lot of your classes and the things for outdoors and the nature that you have expressed so many times. So I think that that we hear, I think we can work together, and there isn't any other park in our system like this park that we have now, because it does contain nature, and there's a lot of areas where we can expand that greatly. And that was some of the very good ideas that the foundation had and presented to us for some of their programs. And again, as it was been said before, we do have other facilities for cooking programs, for exercise classes and things like that in all the other facilities. And that the program is really, this is a city park, so we have to have that go through the city. And again, to say, as Kathy had outlined in our program and what we said, that the foundation did come back and request that it come back to the city, to the commission, so that we could come to ideas and agree upon an MOU. There was no, as Mr. Birnbaum has said, that there was no motion by the city council. So I thank everyone for their comments. I thank the foundation very much for their plans, and I still hope that we can work together, because this is a wonderful park. And as we all said, it is nature and it's serene, and we want to keep that atmosphere. And we did not feel that the buildings would enhance that atmosphere. And so therefore, that is how we come up with the 3 recommendations. So thank you all for expressing your opinions. And I thank Mr. Wilson and Frenette for their ideas that they have given and all the work that they have done also. We very much appreciate those. So at this time, do I have a motion as to whether you want to go from recommendation 1, 2, or 3, or do you want one motion? That would be Commissioner Bimbaum.
I move that the Parks and Community Service Commission approve the facility committee recommendations for the Crow Canyon Gardens regarding both programming levels and renovation of the property, and approve all 3 recommendations simultaneously.
Is there- Okay, all right, so we will have our secretary do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Osland,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, the recommendations have been, and motion has been carried. So I think now we go to, if I can find my agenda here. Again, I want to thank all of you for your hard work and for making a very difficult decision. Item number 8.3 is election of officers. So as I am now your vice chair, then we now have to elect a chairperson for the commission.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to have our vice chair, Carol Lopez Lucy, move into the chair position.
I second it.
Okay, is there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. Madam Secretary, will you take the vote, please?
Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Osland,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
No, it's kind of sad. You sound really difficult when you're voting for yourself, but aye.
Trust me, it was really weird when I was circling the little thing with my name on it.
Yes. Thank you. Now, thank you all very much. Now, since I become your chair, we will need a vice chair. Do I have a motion for someone to be our vice chair? I never have heard you all be silent before. Someone must have a person in mind. As a chair, I cannot make motions.
Can I make a motion? I'll make another motion.
Sure.
I'll make a motion for Commissioner Julia Osland to be our vice chair.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right, any further nominations? Okay, Madam Secretary, will you please?
I was going to give another nomination of the person that's going to be appointed. Just have them come in and be, but. Just joking, just joking.
Madam Secretary, will you take the roll for
Commissioner
voting?
Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Osland,
Aye. Thank you.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Julia, too. Thank you. Staff reports, our 9.1 Recreation Program and Community Services Report. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that section of our packet?
Chairman Lopez Lucy.
Yes.
I just want to make a comment to Kathy and her staff. You guys continue to amaze me on how adaptive you are to, you know, all the programs that you keep adjusting on the fly. You know, you're really community focused. All aspects of the community you guys are looking after, down to the kids as it relates to, you know, Christmas, to the seniors, making sure that they have food and somebody calling them and making sure that they're well. You guys have really made 2020 your year of stepping up, and I just really want to thank you for that.
Yay.
Thank you so much. I will definitely reflect that to our staff. They have been doing some really awesome work, so I'm glad you appreciate it.
Commissioner Heidi Kensington Lee, you have a comment here?
I think what we need to do is have a how to pronounce Heidi's name seminar. It's Keniston Lee. There's no G. I've always gone with it, but I just thought I'd give you guys that little heads up. Okay, 2 things from the staff reports. I love the fall trails promotion. I love that you guys outlined specific trails and they're so approachable. And I think that's so exciting. I love that. And I mean, sort of adding on to what Commissioner Birnbaum said, I love how you guys come up with creative solutions for problems. And part of this is Public Works too, so Maria's team too. But I love the Doherty Valley Aquatic Center windscreen. Like there was a problem, right, with debris and stuff blowing where it shouldn't. So you guys put up a windscreen that, if I understand from the staff report correctly, actually helped the problem. Is that correct, Kathy?
Yeah, and that is public work. So you're
So shout out to Maria, who's probably not listening now, but I love that you also work well together. You guys play nicely together too, and that's good. We love you guys.
Commissioner Osland?
Osland.
Yeah, I was right. Okay.
I just want to thank the Parks and Community staff. You guys are absolutely amazing, and how you gave us the announcement earlier, Kathy, about how the parks, the playgrounds were closed, and then you opened them all back up. I mean, you guys have been, I call you like the weeping willow trees. You just bend and lean, and you just get it done, and you guys are amazing. And you know, it's just, I'm always just so touched with so proud and touched of my community here, and you know, reading about all the fall activities that took place and how happy everybody was, and it created such joy and fun for our community. And now we have all this fun Christmas stuff that's coming up, holiday things. So thank you for being so flexible. And I also wanted to comment, I believe I read that there was a leak in the community center that impacted you guys too. So you even had to move your desks and all your stuff. And so thank you for being such sports and doing your job so well. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And again, public services with those signs up and out, down, and then also solving the leak, which was in the Acosta Room. So, and they're on the Brent Scruggs and Maria and Scott Rennicks are all, I can see them in the chat or in the participants. So I'm glad that they're getting to hear the accolades.
Well, I wanted to comment too. It's just amazing when you look at all that you've accomplished when we're in this, you know, stay at home issue and know what to do. And so I felt really, really proud of our staff as to when I reported at the EDAC meeting today, and I gave them about 15 items that we had accomplished, that I say we, the Park Commission and the staff had accomplished, and you know, getting the community involved in doing all the things that we did, and how many people we fed, and you know, the things that we're doing. I was just impressed, and they were extremely impressed at the EDAC meeting that we had accomplished so much in this area of a virus that is taking its toll on many people. But again, the staff of Parks and Community Services and Public Works should be definitely thanked over and over again, and we commend them for their work, I think. And I think we all feel that way. So, all right, any other for Recreation Program and Community Services report?
Yeah, I'll just make one quick comment. I also too want to echo what everyone has said, my fellow commissioners. I think we have an amazing parks staff. Kathy, you and your team have just done an amazing job in one of the most challenging years we've ever seen in our lives. And what you guys have accomplished is just unbelievable. And I do want to make a comment. The reason why I want to speak, and by the way, my last name is Roberts. That's how you pronounce it. You know, I still get comments about the face masks that you were able to get deployed. And, you know, when I met that family and that group who were doing this charitable, thing to provide these face masks to the community. And when I connected them to you, I mean, it felt like it was just days that already 200 were already out into our senior community, and then deployed and included in our Sweets and Treats event, which I hear was the face masks were a big deal. And so I just want to, for you to be able to take that group and to get them included and deployed that quick is just fantastic. So I just wanted to echo what everyone is saying. And again, thank you, all of you, for your hard work.
All right, thank you. All right, no further on 9.2. We will have an update on city council reports.
Okay, that is me. So you haven't heard a report because we didn't do reports last meeting. So I'm covering October 27th, November 10th, November 24th, and December 8th. Oh, and December 9th, by the way. So what I have done, don't be scared, is I have summarized them into just a few line items. Fortunately, several of the items were continued over more than one meeting. So don't be scared. I'm going to make it brief. After several public hearings, they adopted the ordinance and resolution approving the Crow Canyon specific plan update, which did include restoration of a residential overlay, which basically increased the number of housing units. Now to be called, and I know Kathy will correct me if ever I misstep and say something wrong, the San Ramon Village specific plan. So they wanted to give it a little bit of a historical flair. They passed a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with CCTA, which is the Transportation Authority, for financing of the Bollinger Canyon Road overcrossing, not to exceed $9.2 million. They did approve the library service level changes that we had discussed in a previous meeting. They did also adopt the 3 resolutions approving the City Walk development agreements. I will not get into details. You guys can all look into that. They passed a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the Tasahara Agricultural Preservation Agreement. This is something they also refer to as an agricultural preservation agreement. It has to do with development and urban limit lines, and it's all very interesting, but I won't bore you right now. And then last night they gave a fond farewell to Mayor Clarkson and to Council Member Alone. And then they swore in Mayor Hudson, Council Member Perkins, and our very own Council Member Sridhar Burrows. And then of course tonight they did discuss the replacement for Dave's position. They are going to do appointment, and it will be open only to District 2 folks. So you have to live in District 2, which one of them was talking about, well, somebody can move in there real quick, right? So anyway, if any of you need to move in there really quickly, no, I'm just kidding. So is that it? Did I catch everything, Kathy?
I think that was a pretty good synopsis.
Thank you. Okay.
Very, very brief and very concise. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to committee reports. All right, I will start as I'm going to go, I guess, up to as I see you on the screen. Commissioner Roberts.
Sure. So I'll report on the Senior Advisory Committee. We had a meeting this past Monday. And I feel like in our special meeting, we didn't do any updates. So some of these things, please let me know if we've already talked about this. But one of the things that I found interesting in that meeting on Monday was for homebound seniors. And of course, obviously in the pandemic right now, many of our seniors are homebound, and many of them don't have a solution to get rid of their prescription medications. And so we're looking at a program that basically provides disposal bags to the seniors that will help get rid of these expired, unneeded, either over the counter or prescription medications, which I thought was pretty neat, which will protect the environment as well as protect this whole idea of drugs being misused. So I thought that was interesting. There was an update on the sweets and treats review. The drive-through sweets and treats events a few weeks back. There was 400 participants, 300 bags were provided, 150 flu shots were provided that day. And there were 22 businesses that participated and collaborated in this whole effort, which I thought was pretty amazing. I actually was involved in, I went to it myself that day and actually got my first flu shot ever. So that was a kind of an interesting process for me to do. There was an update on the senior center. Up till this date, there's been 117 meals per week, 23,000 total meals, and will continue through the first quarter. So this is going to continue through the first quarter. And they're going to do everything they can to continue offering online classes as we move forward into next year. In their outreach committee, there was all these events, but there seems to be a conflict with us going back into the purple and the safety aspect of this. But some of these events were like the drive-through karaoke on December 16th. I think that's up in the air. Not sure if that'll happen. They're talking about doing parking lot bingo, which is also interesting. A senior hour, and then that ended with the senior center reopening in February potentially. I guess everything seems sort of potential based on the pandemic. So that's it for me.
Thank you. It's amazing how many people, how many meals that have been provided, I think.
Yeah, I was amazed.
Yeah. Commissioner Oslin.
Thank you, Chair Lopez Lucy. I serve on the Teen Council. I'd like to allow our Student Commissioner Ramesh to give the report, but before she jumps in to give you all the information that they've been covering, I just want to say that she is an amazing chair. She has a very large group of commissioners on her council, and she manages a very tight meeting. It's very organized. Everybody shows up on time. Her attendance record is very good. Most people are there, very, very few absences. And their meeting is very, very well run. So I want to give her a lot of accolades that her leadership qualities are stellar. So I'll step aside and let Student Commissioner Ramesh give the report.
Do you want to give your report now? Ms. Rez, please go ahead and give your report now.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Oslin, or Commissioner Oslin, or Vice Chair Oslin, my bad, as well. So if my memory serves me right, we didn't do updates in November either. So as we saw today, we got the most applications that we've ever got for the Outstanding Teen Citizenship Program. And that was a big achievement for the Teen Council because this is something that we've been doing for 8 years. And this year we've by far seen the most. That I think before our record was about 7 applications, and now we have 24. So we hope to continue that momentum in the future. In addition to that, we are currently working on our ambassador program as we usually do. And this year we're planning on taking it in a different direction and hoping to gain more insight on the needs of the teen population and working through surveys and other methods to really find out what teens want from the city and what we can give to them. And another thing that I think was mentioned earlier in the meeting was that we are currently working with the Parks and Community Services Department on the Santa with Zoom event. And the event actually had more registrations than they expected, and it ran out of they ran out of slots very fast, so they added more dates. And I'll be volunteering as an elf next week, and a bunch of team and council members have signed up to volunteer. So we're excited to see how little kids engage with that and the youth community engages with that. And my last item is that we're working on a partnership with ADAPT, as we did last year, which is a drug abuse prevention organization. And we're hoping to move it to a virtual platform and sort of continue the conversations that we've already been having about how to prevent substance abuse in teens.
Thank you. Very, very good. And Commissioner Birnbaum, your report of open space.
Well, the Open Space Committee hasn't met since our last report. I would just highlight one thing is that I think the staff did a great job of making the transition from the Easy to Hike app to the new Open Spatial app, and then getting out the trail challenge with the information. I think one of the other commissioners mentioned that earlier. I think that that's an important avenue for the community to get out and be able to get some fresh air and some exercise. I think that is a real benefit that the Open Space Committee and the staff has brought to the city.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Dorlick.
Thank you, Chair. So we already had the discussion on 8.1 with the major topic of conversation of the Arts Advisory Committee at the last meeting, which was just before our last meeting. And then the other topic of conversation and the agenda was working on the 2020 report, which I believe we'll see in either January or February.
Thank you. Today I attended the EDAC meeting, and their main purpose was, or the main discussion was that they did recommend to the Planning Commission that they were in favor economically with the Costco gas station. There was a lot of discussion on that, but they felt economically and the things that Costco is doing, and also if it proceeds, it would bring in about $200,000 in tax-wise to the city of San Ramon. So I know in the Planning Commission that there's a lot of pros and cons, and so it's been continued to their next meeting. And the other thing was that the my mind has just gone blank, and I live here on the golf course, that bridges that they want to extend it, and so that they're coming back with some additional probably updates on that will be in the future. So that was two of the things. And the only, of course, we always go with new businesses, but in this pandemic, who was opening a new business? But Gap did open at the Civic Center. So that was the main things that was there. And then the Planning Commission, of course, is to their the gas station has been continued to their next meeting. So that was my report for those. So do any of our commission members have items that you would like to bring to our attention? Since we can't go anywhere, we probably don't have any particular items to go there. So I would like to thank all of you for.
I have one item.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, just for that very reason, a lot of events have been canceled. Kathy mentioned the Jim Brickman meeting, but also if you're looking for a great holiday concert and love jazz, Dave Koz, who usually does a Christmas tour across the country. I think this would have been his 23rd annual Christmas tour. He plays a few Hanukkah songs too, just to be balanced. But they're going to do a online live event on Saturday, this Saturday, So if you're looking for a great family event, it is going to be online. Just go out to davecause.com. There'll be a number of great artists, including Jonathan Butler, Rick Braun, that will participate. So if you're looking for some holiday cheer, Dave Cause Christmas holiday concert is Saturday night, December 12th.
Do you know what time?
It's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah. And if you go out to davecause.com, you can buy tickets. So, but it should be a great event. It's always a wonderful concert. He's got a variety of his colleagues that are, having an opportunity to tour. So they're very excited. Of course, Dave had his first new album of original material in about 15 years that just came out this year. So I'm sure he'll be playing some of that, but mostly great Christmas songs. And if you haven't heard Jonathan Butler perform "Oh Holy Night," it's worth the price of admission. So happy holidays, everybody.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to thank each of you for your dedication and for your, diligence in searching and coming up with, the best for our community. So I just want to give you a special thank you and a thank you again to our teen representative. You represent us very well. I thank you so much. And Kathy, thank you for your leadership and guidance and all of your dedication that you give to the Parks and Community Service. And for each of you, may you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and all the many other avenues, the way that you celebrate the holidays. So my best to you all. And thank you. And the meeting now is adjourned.